Rosie, get in your chair. Get in your chair. Rosie's upset because we got a phone call in the middle of the last take, and it was a good take. Good girl. My name's Stuart. This is my co-host, Rosalita. It's time for Stuart's Super Sunday Sepia Tone Serenade. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we have to repeat all this, so let's do it quickly. Got a question this week from loyal viewer Sherry Cohen. She wants to know why this show is called Stuart Super Sunday Sepia Tone Serenade, since she often sees it on Saturdays. You know, we just put it out on Saturday night sometimes, kind of like the Sunday paper, just so it's there ready for you on Sundays. You're welcome to watch it on Saturdays. You're welcome to watch it on Sundays. We do encourage you to watch it multiple times during the week to really get all the intricacies of the broadcast. And that's that. I am seeing Bob Dylan tomorrow in Milwaukee, and I have seen Bob Dylan in concert more than any other artist without question. And once in a while it's a good show. The vast majority of the time it is not. It's kind of like this dysfunctional relationship we have. I keep doing the same thing again and again, expecting different results. The vast majority of those shows I leave very frustrated. And about 10 years ago, I said, this is my last Bob Dylan concert. He can't sing. I'm not going to defend him the way other Bob Dylan fans do because he can't sing. It's a bad show. It's not entertaining. It's frustrating. I'm done seeing Bob Dylan. But, you know, apparently I'm having a relapse or something. I'm going tomorrow up to Milwaukee to see him. So I'm going to do a Bob Dylan song now. I'm not going to do one of the ones that are always covered, you know, Like a Rolling Stone, Highway 61, All Along the Watchtower. But the song is fairly well known because it was in a movie. It's called The Hurricane. It's about Reuben Hurricane Carter, a boxer. It came out in the mid-'70s, but then they made a movie about him with Denzel Washington that featured the song, so it kind of had a revival in the late 90s. And I quickly want to tell you about the night I saw the Hurricane movie. It was in my old apartment, and it had these old wooden floors, and the phone was ringing, and I must have been in the washroom, and then I'm like running to get the phone, and apparently a couple of the floorboards were slightly uneven, and I kicked where there was like a height differential, and it sliced the balls of my foot across the foot. It just sliced the whole foot open. So I got a bucket, and I got some towels I threw in the bucket, and I put my foot in the bucket, and I worked from home, so I just kept working. And every so often I'd look down and I'd see the towels are just saturated in blood. It took hours and hours, and finally it seemed to stop bleeding. And then my friends call me and they say, hey, we're going to see this movie Hurricane. Do you want to come? And, you know, I knew the song. I really wanted to see the movie. And I'm like, I kind of have a situation with my foot. I'm not sure what to do. So I'm like, all right, I'll go see the movie. We'll see what happens. And midway through the movie, I kind of put some weight on my foot. I could feel it like squishing around in there, and I knew there was trouble. After the movie, I take my boot off, and my white sock is just, like, saturated. It's just, like, red. So I tell my friends, you know, let's go over to Walgreens so we could get more gauze and tape. And they're like, no, you need to go to the emergency room. So I'm like, all right. So we go to the emergency room. I'm in that, like, draped-off little room. And I could hear the nurses talking on the opposite side of the curtain, and they're talking about me. And they're like, oh, who does he have? Does he have Dr. Jones or Dr. Smith or Dr. Johnson, or does he have Jamie? And I don't know one from another, but I don't really want Jamie. He doesn't sound as qualified to me as the other ones. And, of course, I get Jamie, and Jamie's like 12 years old. And he comes in, and he starts looking at it. He's like, well, you know, you don't really have any muscle tissue there, so it's going to be hard for me to numb it, which I learned later is ridiculous. All I had to do was numb my entire foot and not try to isolate that area. And he's like, I'm going to have to like do it at sort of a weird angle. And he goes right into the wound with the syringe. And I don't even know what he's trying to accomplish, but he's just all awkward and doing it weird. He pushes the hammer, the syringe down, and I could feel the liquid, the Novocaine, squirting onto my opposite leg. And I go, you know, that's not entering my body. And he says something, and he leaves, and then he comes back with his kit to stitch it up. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do about numbing my foot? And he's like, well, you know, I think I managed to get a couple cc's in. And I think for a second, I'm like, well, what would be an ideal amount? Was he hoping to get like 4 cc's in, or was he hoping to get 50 cc's in? But I don't even ask him. And then he starts the procedure, and I'm taking it cold turkey. My foot is not numb in the slightest bit. Completely cold turkey. He goes in with the big needle, and I start screaming. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. And you know when you're in a situation like maybe a funeral or something, and you think it would be really awkward if I were to start to laugh, and then you develop like a nervous laughter and you can't stop? Well, that happens to Jamie. I'm screaming as he's doing it, and he can't stop laughing. He gets the giggles, and he starts laughing harder and harder, and I'm getting more and more pissed off as I look at this guy, Jamie, and I'm ready to punch him in the face. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, and he can't stop laughing. Anyway, so that's my story of the night I saw the movie The Hurricane. So if I have any sort of post-traumatic stress event while I'm singing the song, that's why. I have to put on my glasses because there are a lot of lyrics to the song and it's small print. So this is about the boxer Reuben Hurricane Carter. If you never saw the movie, the song pretty much tells the whole story in even more detail than the movie did, which is an amazing feat. What happened to Hurricane Carter was almost as bad as what happened to me with Jamie. Maybe they'll be making a movie about that as well one day. Shots ring out in a barroom night, and a petty Valentine from an upper hall sees a bartender in a pool of blood, cries out, "My God, they killed them all." Here comes the story of the hurricane, and the authorities came to blame. Something that he never done, put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been champion of the world. 3 bodies lying there, this petty sea. Another man bellow moves around mysteriously. I didn't do what he said, and he threw up his hands. I was only robbing the register, I hope you understand. So I'm leaving, he says, and he stops. One of us had better call up the cops. And so Petty calls the cops. They arrive on the scene with the red lights flashing in the hot New Jersey night. Meanwhile, far away in another part of town, Reuben Carter and a couple of his friends are driving around. Number 1 contender for the middleweight crown has no idea what kind of shit is going down when a cop pulled him over to the side of the road. Just like the time before and the time before that. Patterson, that's the way things go. You're black, you might as well not show up on the street unless you want to draw the heat. Bradley were out prowling around. Saw 2 men running out and they looked like middleweights. Jumped into a white car with out-of-state plates. This Patty Valentine just nodded her head. Cop said, "Wait a minute, boys, this one's not dead." So they took him to the infirmary. And though this man could hardly see, they told him that he could identify the guilty man. They haul Reuben in, take him to the hospital and bring him upstairs. Wounded man looks through his one dying eye, says, "What did you bring him here? He ain't the guy." Here's the story of the hurricane. Man, the authorities came to blame. Something that he never done, put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been champion of the world. Are you with me so far? screws are in flames. Reuben's in South America fighting for his name. Arthur Dexter Bradley still in the robbery game, and the cops put the screws on him looking for someone to blame. Remember that murder you saw in a bar? Remember you said you saw their getaway car? Think you want to play ball with the law? Think it might have been that fighter that you saw running that night. Don't forget that you are white. Arthur Dexter Bradley said, I'm really not sure. Cops said a poor boy like you can use a break. Got you for that motel job, we're talking to your friend Bello. Now you don't want to have to go to jail, so be a nice fellow. You'd be doing society a favor. That motherfucker's brave and getting braver. You want to put his ass in stir. You want to pin this triple murder on him. You know ain't no gentleman Jim. Can take a man out with just one punch. Never did like to talk about it all that much. It's my work, he'd say, and I do it for pay. But when it's all over, I just as soon go on my way. Up to some paradise where the trout should flow and the air is nice. Ride a horse along the trail. Then they took him to the jailhouse where they tried to turn man into a mouse. All the Reuben's cards were marked in advance. The trial was a pitch circus, they never had a chance. The judge made Reuben's witnesses drunkards from the slum. To the white folks, he was a revolutionary bum. To the black folks, he's just a crazy nigger. No one doubted that he pulled the trigger, though they couldn't produce the gun. The DA said he was the one who did the deed, and all white jury agreed. Long story, couple more verses. Reuben Carter was falsely tried. The crime was murder one, and guess who testified? Bello and Bradley, and they boldly lied. And the newspapers all went along for the ride. How can the life of such a man be in the palm of some fool's hand? See him obviously framed. Couldn't help me, man. Couldn't help me but feel ashamed to live in a land where justice is a game. Now all the criminals in their coats and their ties, free to drink martinis and watch the sunrise. Reuben sits like Buddha in a 10-foot cell. Innocent man in a living hell. Ah, that's the story of the hurricane. It won't be over till they clear his name. Give him back the time he's done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been champion of the world. Very long episode this week. Hope you're still with us. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll just tell you more after that song ended. Hurricane Carter was eventually released from prison. He was never found innocent, though, even though he probably was. They released him for some other reason. It's complicated. Anyway, so he is a free man now. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please help unfuck the world. It's all we got.